We are 1 minute late tonight. I got slightly distracted in the computer world. Tonight's topics, groundwork, because the groundwork webinar is coming up on Sunday. Please don't forget. It's actually Piaffe in hand, but it's all about groundwork and in-hand work. We're talking about managing fear, because there was a really great post from one of the Stride students that I wanted to talk a little bit about. We're going to be talking about marriage counseling. I call it marriage counseling because Herman's been helping me with one of my horses. Because he pushes my buttons.
Yeah, very
so
in very short order.
Yes. So we're not actually going to marriage counseling, but sometimes I feel like your trainer is your marriage counselor with your horse. And we all kind of need intervention sometimes. And we're talking about fear. And then there's like 15 questions that we're supposed to answer. So
let's rock.
First and foremost, the groundwork webinar, which is this Sunday. It's actually called Piaffe Made Simple. So what I'm going to be doing inside the webinar is breaking it down step by step, showing you a lot of really great exercises that you should really be doing with your horse every single day, just to get their bodies where they need to be, to get them engaged, to get them using their top line, to get them thinking about their hind legs. All of that stuff you should do in hand before you get on. And it makes a really big difference when you get on your horse. And also, if you're not able to ride because it's like winter or whatever reason, groundwork is awesome. So I highly recommend coming to the webinar. I put together a really cool video that I'm going to show at the end. I showed it to Herman. That video I just showed you.
Just now?
Shh, don't say, it's a secret.
I hope I mumbled that. I hope I did not enunciate clearly.
It wasn't even that hard. So you weren't even watching. But I'm going to be showing a cool video at the end for people that show up live. So just a little bonus. It's always awesome if you can show up live to the webinars, because I do put a lot of effort into putting together the slides, putting together the presentation, and it's just exciting and fun. I enjoy the webinars. So that's the first thing, is the groundwork webinar. The second thing is our marriage counseling with Luigi. Would you like to explain how that went today?
It went super.
And what did you do?
We just made him more supple.
Yeah. So sometimes with Luigi, he's tricky.
So Luigi is quite difficult.
He's tricky.
He wants to lay in the rider's hand.
He gets crooked.
He doesn't want to carry the weight behind.
And he gets a little stiff. He's super talented though.
Oh yeah.
But it's just like getting all the pieces where they need to be. And so sometimes when I'm riding on my own, he pushes my buttons, and then we just kind of argue and it bicker at each other. It's not helpful.
The Bickersons.
Yeah. So I asked my wonderful husband today if he could do some marriage counseling intervention, and it definitely went a lot better.
Yeah. We got him to carry more weight. We used some exercises just to get him more supple, and turn on the forehand, really, matching the haunches. And with
leg yields.
Leg yield straight, helpful. Leg yield back.
Yeah.
Not like 20 meters of leg yield, but 3-4 strides of leg yield straight and back, and just to get him more balance on 4 legs and more right leg, left hand, and diagonally through.
Yeah. And I really like that exercise that you had me do, the shoulder in, renvers, and then like
push to the center line.
Yeah. And then half pass. We need to do a YouTube video on that. That would be a really good one. That would be a super one. That's a Conrad exercise.
It is. I was going to just say, Conrad would be so happy because I got that one from him.
Yeah.
And it's just because there's so much suppling in it. It's one side, the other side, back over this way. And then you get the horse really on all 4 legs. And then the balance is there. And then they're a lot more mobile.
Yeah. All right.
Shall we quickly answer Deborah Porter's question?
Yes. Answer Deborah Porter's question.
When in canter, how should the rider's weight be distributed between the saddle and the stirrups? 50% in both, 80% saddle and 20% in stirrups, or some other combo. I don't really know the numbers, but I know I've got a lot more in the saddle than I do in the stirrups. I want to sit on my horse, and I've never really weighted it, like, you know, how much, but
I would say 80-20.
Yeah, 80-20 seems fair enough. 90-10 even, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
I would always say that the upper body, like the weight of your torso goes into your seat and the weight of your legs goes into the stirrups.
But here's the thing. I mean, if you didn't have stirrups, could you ride the canter? And then
Yeah.
you'd have zero weight in the stirrups.
Right.
So
But you should have some
I have
weight
like just enough weight to keep my legs, the stirrup, from flying around. I don't really.
But you don't want to jam your foot in the stirrup. And you also don't want to take your foot, like a lot of people grip with their legs in the canter and then they lose their stirrups.
Right, because the heels come up. So your ankle has to stay. And again, when you're talking about putting that weight in, it can't be hard. You can't be sitting in your horse and then you're inflexible. When you put weight down in the stirrups, you can't be hard and stiff there either. Your ankle is your shock absorber. It has to, that heel, you're flat and then the heel comes down. You're flat and the heel comes down. So even though you're putting some weight there, it can't be rigid. Rigid is just the kiss of death. There's can never be rigidity. Yeah. Everything has to be fluid, soft, supple.
Yeah.
But anyway, the short answer is more weight in the saddle than in your feet, and by a lot.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is in Strides this month, our focus is on mindset. And it's been a really fun month to like really think about your mindset, think about how we deal with fear. We were talking about tapping. My mom made this hilarious video.
Oh, I saw that this morning.
Tapping her head, because there's like a lot of techniques that you can do to calm yourself down and to release tension. And some of them seem weird, like the tapping and the shaking, but they work. And it's important. Like we were talking about last night, having that ability to calm yourself down in a tricky situation.
And we had
remember you were showing this like analogy about your student who was like
okay, right. So we were talking about, because you had said, because I do it in the saddle when something happens, and you were saying
you shake it off.
Yeah, while I'm in the saddle. You were saying to do it before the saddle, before you even get on. And so, right, then I made so then I thought it was like this. Okay, so you come to your horse and you're at this point, right?
Of anxiety, like a middle anxiety.
This is where you are, right?
Your baseline anxiety level.
And so when your horse is getting, spooky or whatever, that's over here. And so the distance from here to here isn't very much. But if you take care of all that breathing and you get your mind right,
so you start out calmer.
So you start out calmer, then you're over here. And so when your horse does something, you just move this way. So if you start from farther away from anxiety, when something happens, you're going to be calmer, which is how I thought about that. Because Kathy did that, and she was way better when he did a ding-dong thing.
Yeah. So I think it is important to figure out how to calm yourself down and how to relax yourself when you're not on the horse. Because when you're on your horse and they spook, it's like it's not too late, but you need to have that skill set first.
You already want to be centered and grounded
and
before the event.
And you need to have some tools of like, okay, I can breathe. I can, shake it off a little. I can sit back. You have to have some tools installed before you're in the panic zone. It's the same thing with our horses. You have to teach them how to bend and yield from your leg before they panic. You have to teach them the one rein stop when they're relaxed so that you can use it when they panic. And it's the same thing for us.
Training will supplant instinct.
Yeah.
Right? That's why we train. That's why the police department trains. That's why the military trains, because in a moment of crisis, when all that's happening, the training kicks in.
Yeah.
And then that will override the instinct. Right? I've been on so many horses that have misbehaved, and it's lean back, feet down. Lean back, and that you hear your trainer saying that. And now when my horse does something, I don't even have to think. My body just goes to that position because training will supplant instinct. But you got to train.
For people and for horses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I went to boot camp. It absolutely I am 100% convinced it works because I watched it in action.
Tell them the telephone story.
Tell them telephone story. So, you're up for about 3 nights, and then they let you call home. And this was in 1986. So there was no cell phones, really. We just called collect. And then the company commander comes in, and there's 50 of us on the phone. And he starts yelling, "All right, time to hang up, time to hang up. You got to get up." And it took 3 minutes. You heard 50 phones hang up at a different time, and it was just chaos. 13 weeks later, we got to call home because we were going to graduate. The company commander comes in and he says, "Okay, that's it. Time's up." You heard one phone hang up. 50 guys all together. He said, "Hang up." We went, "Gotta go." Bang. Only one phone. And 13 weeks went by, and I went, "Oh my God, it worked." Training supplants you, me, you, the horse, all of us. But it was boot camp. We did things for 13 weeks, and they got our minds right. So you can do it too. What one man can do, another man can do.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, everyone who's listening to the podcast won't be able to see your hand things. Just so everyone who's watching here knows, we always make these into a podcast. So you can listen to them on the go. It's Dressage with Amelia. You can download it onto your phone. Listen to us for entertainment. Okay,
maybe
so
they can hear my hand moving through the air.
This is from one of our Strides members, and I hope it's okay with her that we share it, but she posted in the Facebook group, and I just love this because she said, "Today I realized I'm not afraid to ride my mare anymore. I used to be anxious at just the thought of riding her. I knew I had to go out and be with her." So then she outlines and she says, "This is what I did." So number 1, I spent time reading books, listening to podcasts and online courses about working through fear. Number 2, I did calming meditations. 3, when I was afraid to ride, I made myself go out and start the process with a promise to myself that I didn't have to get on. Usually after grooming, hand walking, and groundwork, I did get on. Brilliant, no?
Right, because that way you take it one step at a time.
Exactly.
Don't worry about getting on right now, because right now we're doing groundwork. We'll do that then. Right now we're doing groundwork. So you're present, you're mindful, you're in the moment.
I mean, and I do that all the time. Sometimes I'm like, well, I'll enter the show, and if I get to the show and my horse is a disaster, I'll just scratch. And then most of the time I don't, but I give myself that option because
you might need to.
So then she says, sometimes I got on and walked 5 steps and got off. I rewarded my horse every time she was calm and after every successful ride. I spent a lot of time just sitting on her and not going anywhere. I bought a neck strap, like a grab strap that I could hold on to if I ever felt unbalanced. I watched video of good riders and how they rode. I stayed in strides, even though I didn't feel like I could do any of the exercises. I watched office hours and learned many small tips to help my seat and confidence. I listened to your stories in the Facebook group and knew I wasn't alone. I didn't let anyone force or intimidate me into doing anything on my horse that I wasn't ready to do. And it all worked. I'm looking forward to some warmer weather so I can get on my girl and trot. Maybe even do a little entry-level practice. Long story short, you can do this too.
That's a fact.
That's good.
That is a fact. We can all do it.
And it's so important with horses to take little baby steps. Like, just go out and groom your horse and do some groundwork. And I think a lot of times people, they don't ride for a month because whatever. And then they get on and want to go like canter out in the field. And that's not good.
That is not a realistic expectation.
No.
That is setting yourself up for failure.
Yes.
And then you go and you have a bad experience, or someone will go and have a bad experience, and that's what you remember, because you created a situation was created where there can be no positive outcome.
Yes. So anyways, I think that it is true that we all struggle with fear at times, or insecurities, or feeling not good enough. And it's important that you, number 1, are very aware of your mindset and aware of like how you're feeling, and then that you start to be able to get control of that, because it can take you down some bad roads.
Well, that's what you were saying about you can do the breathing, you can write, and then I can't remember who I was on the phone with, but they were very upset. And I felt it was this morning, and I was just like, no, I'm not going on that road. I'm not going on that road.
Yes.
And
The
I just
nervous
listened.
system co-regulation.
Yeah. What is it called?
Nervous system co-regulation.
Why is it co-regulation?
Because you're co-regulating with someone else or with your horse. Like it's a codependence.
Yeah, well, they were on the phone, so I wasn't regulating anything but myself because I was getting upset.
Okay.
And I was able to.
So here's another thing about mindset. I've been reading this book. It's called, everyone's going to ask, Winning Habits, How Elite Equestrians Master the Mental Game by Annette Paterex. So I am not very far into it, but it's super interesting. It's mostly about show jumpers. So she talks about the power of visualization. And there was this study that they did where basically one group of they're basketball players. So one group had to practice free throws every day for an hour. The second group had to visualize free throws for an hour every day. And the third group just had to like practice basketball, and they didn't really tell them to focus on anything. After 30 days, the three groups were tested. The first group had improved with 24%. The last group hadn't improved at all. The second group, however, who had not touched a ball for 30 days but merely visualized the free throws, had improved by 23%.
So almost the same as the ones who practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that your brain doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
Between you physically doing it, because your brain just thinks. So your brain doesn't know the difference between you actually doing it and you thinking it.
Yeah. So visualization is a really powerful tool, and you can use it for anything. I mean, you could use it for the canter transition. You could use it for the trot. You could use it for anything that you're having trouble with. When you can't sleep at night, is lay down, and the more senses that you can have involved in your visualization, the better. So visualize like how your horse feels underneath of you, how your seat feels in the saddle, how the reins feel, what it smells like, what the temperature is like, what your arena looks like, all of those things. And you could also visualize, when your horse spooks, right?
And what you will do.
Like you're going to sit back, you're going to keep your hands down, all of that stuff. It's really powerful. It works. And I think for all of us, we have limited time in the saddle.
Right.
You can't ride your one. What is it you always say?
You would learn faster if you rode 10 horses a day, but you can't ride your one horse 10 times.
Yes, you can't ride your one horse 10 times in a day. So you should visualize instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. What else are we talking about tonight? We have some questions to answer. Oh, I have a request for everyone watching live. I've been doing some work because, I'm always trying to like make our courses better and make the best educational content ever. So my question to you is, what is the like one or two exercises that you feel like has helped you the most ever in your riding? Let me know in the comments. Like it could be a pattern, it could be a certain, I don't know, concept. But what's like that one exercise or one thing that you've learned that you feel like has really turned a corner in your riding? Because basically what my vision is for the business is to try to make online training super helpful and also figure out how to personalize it more, how to have like set you up on a track and have a personalized plan for you based on your needs, based on where you are with your horse. So that's just in the future, one day, right? Let's see. Natalie says 10-meter circle. I love that.
Great.
Scrambled eggs. Oh, I didn't add that one.
That's
there we go.
Well, that's what changed when Albert took me by the forearm.
Yeah.
And was just like, oh my God, you're so strong. And that changed my world and changed all my horses, and it's changed everybody I've taught ever since. Yeah. And all about the suppling. Yeah, the scrambled egg thing is what changed.
Snowman. Soft feel. Shoulder in. Awesome. Okay. Interesting. All right. We will answer a few questions. So let me see. We'll answer Christine's questions. I'm working on rhythm with my 5-year-old off the track thoroughbred. Is it okay to do the counting exercise where we alternate between rising and sitting trot, or is he too young for sitting trot? Also, should he be warmed up for doing the exercise? Good question. So counting is a really great exercise because it helps you to find a steady rhythm and tempo.
Keeps the tempo going.
But you definitely want your horse warmed up before you do sitting trot.
Yes.
So what I would recommend doing, what I do a lot of times if I get on a horse and they're like hot, is I just count the trot rhythm or sing a song.
Right.
Just like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then I would say once your horse is warmed up, you could start alternating between posting trot and sitting trot.
Yes. Right. That's what I mean. So my basic warm up would be like the 320-meter circles in both directions. So that's, 4 or 5 minutes. And then you could do sitting, posting, sitting, posting.
Yes. Okay. Next question. In the medium trot, do you lighten your seat? When I see so many people lean back, doesn't that dig the seat bones into your horse's back?
What do you?
You answer that one.
No, I don't.
I was looking at you.
Okay. No, I don't think it makes you. Potentially, you could grind into their kidneys. But when they start moving off huge like that, you have to make an adjustment. Otherwise, you're going to get bounced out of the tack.
But you have to sit a little back, but you don't want to lean back.
Right. You don't want to lean back and hold on to the reins.
You don't want to go water skiing.
Yeah, you're not going water skiing. So I don't know if that's what you, but yeah, you have to make a little adjustment because, it's coming up. So I don't know. I'm not talking about water skiing.
Yeah. Okay, here's a good one from Christiana. I've been working to encourage my 5-year-old warm bud to respond more actively to the inside leg and to maintain contact with the outside rein, but I'm finding it challenging to get a consistent reaction. Could you share some techniques or exercises that might help improve our communication and responsiveness? I like groundwork. Come to the groundwork webinar on Sunday on Piaffe. But I don't know. I feel like with young horses, if they're not listening to your inside leg, it's always good to do it from the ground. Or you could do what we did today with Luigi.
Right. You want it to happen. And I did the same thing with Ralph today too. So that you do the leg yield and you do the leg yield. And there has to be an electricity in you that you're like, oh my God, we got to jump to the side. Oh my God, we got to jump to the side. Yeah. And raise that horse and get him. Oh boy, we're jumping. And he'll come better from that leg aid. If your horse is all calm and chill and everything, you got to add some heat to that. So you have to be electric and you have to put your leg on, and you've got to put your leg on quick. You put your leg on, something doesn't happen, pow, 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 jump, 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 jump. And then raise up the level and then maintain. Okay. So there's 2 questions about horses with time off. So if you're off riding for quite a while, 9 weeks, horses have been sitting, where do you start? I have knee surgery, need started again. And then there's another one, rehabbing her horse. So, well, if the horse has been sound and you've been off, then I would just lunge a little bit in the beginning and make sure everything's all hunky-dory and hop on. Groundwork. Yeah. Make sure the horse is like, okay, let some of the steam out of the pot. And then if it's looking calm, up you go. Rehab, that's a whole other thing. And your vet, you have to talk to your vet. You got to talk to your vet. You have to have a protocol and follow what the vet tells you for the rehab. If you've got If you're off, and the horse is sound, that's a
Yeah.
different thing. But if your horse has been off, and depending on the injury, your vet's going to have an opinion on how that should be rehabilitated.
Yeah. But safety first. It's so important when you're rehabbing a horse or when your horse has been off for a while that you really listen to your voice inside your head. And because sometimes the vets will say these things that are like just kind of impossible. They'll be like, your horse has been locked in a stall for a year. Now get on
and hand walk for 10 minutes.
No, get on and tack walk.
Tack walk.
Yeah. Or you can trot, but only in straight lines. And if you feel like you're going to die, you need to like get help or like give your horse. I hate drugging horses, but sometimes.
Because you can't, the horse, if he's all revved up and he just breaks in half and he goes galloping off, he's going to hurt himself again.
Right.
So the drugs aren't the greatest thing, but it's better than that.
But you have to a little bit, it's terrible to say, but I always say like your safety has to come first. And so, discuss that with your vet and take your time. So anyways, there was a lot of good questions. I wanted to talk quickly about the webinar on Sunday. So it is about training Piaffe, but as you know, like Piaffe is the pinnacle of dressage, right? Piaffe is a big part of the Grand Prix. It's something that is really exciting and fun to ride. If you've ever had the chance to ride a really good Piaffe, it's just an incredible feeling when you feel like that power and that energy and it's all under you and in balance. But it really is the culmination of a lot of correct training, a lot of correct basics that go into teaching your horse to Piaffe. And so that's really what the webinar is about, is all of those little steps that you need to get there. And a lot of times people don't do the foundation right. And they just start, chasing their horse from behind and holding them in front. We've all seen that. And the horses freak out.
It's very exciting.
Yes. And
you don't want to be in the arena when that's happening.
No. And so, I've had both experiences. I've definitely been on horses where like someone comes behind you with a whip and you're just like, the horse is so scared and doesn't understand and you're scared. And then we worked with a trainer named Morton Thompson, and he, I think, was the first one that I really saw break it down like step by step in such a kind and gentle way to teach horses
to lift their leg, and then and everything just flowed, and the next thing you knew, your horse was Piaffing.
Yeah.
With no drama.
Yeah. It was super cool. Horses are so smart. They're so in tune with their body. And if you can teach them some like simple stuff on the ground.
And here's the thing, if the horse feels safe, they'll do anything.
Yeah.
As soon as they're worried, it's all downhill after that.
Yeah. And so that really is a big focus in the webinar on Sunday, is how to kind of establish that trust and that communication with your horse on the ground and break it down. You can teach your horse so much from the ground. You can teach them how to respond to the rein aid. You can teach them how to respond to the leg aid. You can teach them to move sideways. You can teach them to bend. And often it's much easier for the horse to learn that stuff without you on them. I mean, can you imagine if you had to do yoga with like a 50-pound backpack on? You don't do yoga.
I'm just trying to think about, the special forces down in San Diego, and they got to hike those sand mountains with the 75-pound packs.
Right. That's like what we ask our horses to do.
That is, those boys are in shape, I'll tell you that.
But so if you can teach them some of this stuff without your weight on their back, it's easier for them.
Because that's one less thing that they're not worried about.
Yeah. And it's also, I think it's better mentally for the horse. And sometimes it's better for you. I would rather get off and explain something from the ground. I think one of the biggest things I always get off and work on is if they won't move sideways off my leg. Like that is one thing that I feel you really have to teach from the ground. You just do not want to get in a fight with your horse about moving sideways from the saddle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I love Groundwork, and I'm excited for the webinar on Sunday. And thank you all for being here. These are always fun.
Yeah, thanks for putting up with us.
Yes.
Listen to us.
Yeah, and do check out the podcast. It's fun to listen on the go, and it's Dressage with Amelia. You can put it on your phone, and yes, hopefully you can hear both of us. We've gotten some comments that Herman isn't loud enough.
I mumble,
which is really funny because
I'm loud.
Yes, he yells sometimes.
Across the arena, everybody hears me on the property. So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, anyways, good evening.